This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz podcast.
This radio and television program is a shared community. We argue, we fight, we laugh about the things we want to talk about, and there was an all-out war during the break. Everyone arguing about what to talk about. You'd think the Patriots would be the obvious place to start, but you'd be wrong. And here's why you'd be wrong. One, Stugatz is beefing with J.J. Walker of Good Times.
Yeah.
Two, David Blatt has said something, and we need to check in on him immediately. And three, for some reason, Louis Riddick has sound on DB play that Mike Ryan is insistent that we play. Mike Ryan is fighting for Louis Riddick on DB play.
And me and Guillermo also think the Eagles should trade Carson Wentz.
Right. Okay. There's that in play too. So and also Robin Williams has a documentary coming out. Well, a documentary about Robin Williams is coming out, and
yeah, he didn't make the premiere.
That is correct. And in celebrity, that is one of the ones I want to watch. I want to watch. If you're telling me HBO is digging into the life of Robin Williams, the life and death of Robin Williams.
Adnan saw it. It got 4 Maple Leafs.
It's got to be. It's got to be good. If
Highest honor.
This subject, Robin Williams lived a rich and decadent and tormented life, and so I'd like to see a documentary. HBO delves into those waters. I want to see where that ends up. But we begin with Stugatz's beef with J.J. Walker of Good Times.
I don't know what happened.
To the dismay of Mike Ryan, who wanted to go badly to Louis Riddick DB play. What is happening with you? For those of you who don't know, Good Times was a very popular show in the mid-'70s, early '80s.
Yeah, I got a tweet.
Jimmy J.J. Walker was the star of said show.
Yes.
Is he still dating Ann Coulter?
He was dating Ann Coulter. Guillermo, put on the poll. Weirder pairing. J.J. Walker and Ann Coulter, or Baron Davis and Laura Dern?
Wow.
Yeah, go have at it, kids. At Le Batard Show. And throw on there while you're at it, Flavor Flav and Bridget Nielsen. Throw that up there while you're at it.
That's a good one. So Josh Cohen, who works at an affiliate up in Palm Beach, ESPN West Palm, he sent a tweet, I guess yesterday. I'm just seeing it today. I had the longest and most surreal conversation yesterday at Polo Brunch with Jimmy J.J. Walker about how much he hates Stugatz and our style of radio. It was 90% him just telling me why he hates Stugatz. Can't make this up. I have no idea what I've done to J.J. Walker, and I simply responded to Josh Cohen because forget about J.J. Walker. You were at a Polo Brunch? Who goes to those things? A little hoity-toity.
Not a little hoity-toity. I mean, a Polo Brunch is a lot of hoity-toity. A Polo Brunch?
Does it get more hoity-toity than a Polo Brunch?
J.J. Walker and Ann Coulter were at the Polo Brunch after a torrid night of romance and sexual pyrotechnics. J.J. Walker needed to fill up on carbs.
But what did I do to J.J. Walker? I
don't know what you did to J.J. Walker.
He's been on the show a couple of times. Do you recall a time where I was mean to J.J. Walker?
No. I remember J.J. Walker being on with us many years ago, 10 years ago. And what I remember about that interview was him saying he could no longer find things funny because he had heard everything in comedy. And J.J. Walker, it was like it really seemed like a tormented lament to walk through your retirement, unable to find anyone funny because you knew where all the funny was, and no one could ever surprise you with the funny. I remember that part of the interview distinctly because I'm like, really? Kid Dynamite, you figured it out? Nothing else can be funny.
That's got to stink when everything ceases to be funny, yes.
That stinks.
It's the worst.
So, speaking of funny, Mike Ryan wants to get to this pass interference, defensive back talk. Louis Riddick, what's good about this sound here?
You can't play DB if you're looking at the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to see too much, you see nothing. Mm-hmm. You got to try and see a little bit, and you see everything.
Oh, that's wise.
That's a fortune cookie.
I wish I could open fortune cookies. That's the next ESPN app. You open a fortune cookie, bang. Louis Riddick hits you with life wisdom.
You can't play DB if you're looking at the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to see too much, you see nothing. Mm-hmm. You got to try and see a little bit, and you see everything.
A fortune cookie.
Fortune cookie. Speaking of fortune cookies, the guys have been playing this weird game in private. It's the Cavs time capsule game. And I want to understand the game better because we haven't done very much with it on air, and what we're celebrating this weekend in the time capsule. Guillermo, explain what this game is that you guys have been playing in private.
Oh, it was such a big weekend for the time capsule. We had 2 things checked off the list.
Hold on, but you need to explain to people what the time capsule is because I don't even understand what the time capsule is.
I'm getting there. So this is how it works. A week ago, me and Mike were privately before the show talking about how the Cavs have a pattern of events that happen every year around this time. And we started saying, like, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. So we started writing it down, and we dated it 1/12/18. So we're like 10 days into this time capsule, and things are flying off of it already. It's crazy. So this weekend in the time capsule, we heard probably the craziest thing on the time capsule. David Blatt came out of nowhere and addressed the Cavs situation.
Wait a minute, but what was on the time capsule? What does it say on the time capsule?
Well, the David Blatt specific one was just David Blatt says something. And that was checked off the list.
Okay, so this was checked off this weekend.
Yeah, this is great.
Do we have
this
the sound?
weekend,
Do we have that sound, Mike, or we don't have that sound?
It happened in Turkey. We're working on getting the actual sound.
But what did he say? What did David Blatt say?
He took a dig at the Cavs' lack of defense because he was coaching the Turkish All-Star game because things are going really well for David Blatt right now.
Well, that's where LeBron sent him. He sent him to Turkey, yes.
Hope we don't give up as many points as the Cavaliers gave up. Boom. Something.
It's something. Little dig.
All right, so is that it?
Check that off the list.
Is the David Blatt time capsule done? Is that it?
Yeah, that's closed. That's off the list now.
How many time capsules are there?
Well, there's one. There's
one time capsule.
There's
with
0
several
actual
things in it.
time capsules.
Yeah,
it's a piece
notebook.
of paper.
Yeah.
These are kind of the things LeBron says when he's about to leave your team, or things that happen around.
Things that
events that happen to the Cleveland Cavaliers around this time every year. Another thing, Dan, Ty Lue. Job's in jeopardy.
What do you mean it's in jeopardy?
Oh, there's
In
already
jeopardy,
talk. We don't know what's going to happen with him. LeBron's already addressing it. I don't know what's going to happen with the future. Come on, Dan. Wake up.
Check.
Big weekend.
They lost.
weekend.
They lost to Oklahoma City at home and gave up $148.
He gave you if the season ended right now, we could get bounced out of the playoffs early.
Yeah, he said that too.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me hear Ty Lue. Let me hear Ty Lue. Now, I want you to imagine Ty Lue as a man who is totally underwater. And I want you to imagine that he's got a tiny, tiny straw in his mouth. And through that straw, as his face gets engulfed with not otherwise being able to breathe, this is what he's saying.
I think at times matchup based, it's tough matchups a lot on the floor, but they respond. I'm not giving up on us, and we're not giving up on them, so that's not a problem at all. That wouldn't be the case.
Weird way to use his final breaths. He's not giving up, but maybe, and look at this LeBron James sound, you will have the answer as to why it is that Ty Lue needs to tell everybody he's not giving up. So really, this is the way that he's defending that he will not give up. Perhaps this is the reason that he has to utter such a defense because of this said by LeBron James.
I would hope not. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with our team. I have no idea what's the conversations been going on. I'm just, for me personally, been trying to stay as laser sharp as I can to keep my guys ready to go out and play. And obviously, it hasn't resulted in wins, but I got to stay as fresh as mentally as much as I can, even with the struggles. I can't worry about job security and trades and things of that nature. I'm stay as focused as I can every night to go out and compete and try to help us win ball games.
He doesn't know.
Next year, Dan Gilbert's going to be paying 5 coaches, and LeBron's not going to be there.
He doesn't know.
Don Le Batard, you're an insane person. You need to be committed. You are running a finger over your lips, arguing with yourself while pushing a shopping cart barefoot. They should put you in a straitjacket and not allow you around other sports fans who are sane. Stugats.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
What's the matter with me, man? I mean, there was just a picture of me on TV dressed in a garbage bag with a hat on. I haven't shaved in probably 3 weeks, much like today. And I was eating paper.
You were on Countdown yesterday, and you look like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I do.
In an oversized Blake Bortles jersey.
Yep.
Manufacturing. Did anyone call you on the idea that you were just manufacturing Blake Bortles opinions on command? We're in a dangerous place in hot takery where Stugotz is available to have whatever opinion you'd like him to have.
Yep. As long as you pay me.
You throw a Bortles jersey on him, throw him on Countdown, and boom, Stugotz is there for you to play whatever character. He's the closest thing. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is Stugotz the closest thing ESPN has ever had to Colbert? I want to ask the audience something because a lot of people are making a big deal now about Tom Brady running off the field. A referee congratulated him, and there was a suspicious disparity in penalties between the two teams in that Jacksonville got a football's field worth, and the Patriots got one penalty for 10 yards.
Yep.
But what I want to ask you guys, because the smoke and mirror Patriots did that without Gronk, did that in a way I don't even understand what I saw. Jacksonville played the perfect game and somehow lost anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tired of the idea of every time this team wins, we have to accuse them of something when we don't understand how they keep winning. But what I wanted to talk to you about as it related to Boston fans, they've got a persecution complex, but they've also been persecuted. So they will notice that today's Patriots coverage on this show is author James Patterson, who wrote a novel about Aaron Hernandez, All-American Murder.
Right.
So we are going to talk. Is it a novel? It's not a novel. Because sometimes the way that you get away with writing, reporting things that are on the cusp of true and not true is just file it under novel and people can wonder whether it's true or not. So I don't know. Is James Patterson reporting the Aaron Hernandez story as fact, as biography, or is he reporting it as a novel? Regardless, James Patterson is going to be on with us at 12:30 Eastern to talk about that. But what I wanted to ask you as it related to Brady, Max Kellerman has been saying for a couple of years now that Brady's decline is going to fall off a cliff. And he's basing that based on all of history's aging at that position. It's a sound argument, even as Brady keeps taking a bat to it, even as Brady goes to 3 of 4 Super Bowls after I've said that the way that you notice decline in old quarterbacks is accuracy on long ball. He's been to 3 of 4 Super Bowls since then.
Yep.
And this is what I want to ask you. I remember the first time I noticed this, Stugotz. All-Star game, Cal Ripken Jr. Cal Ripken Jr., back when baseball was the number one sport in America, and Cal Ripken Jr. was as big a star as we had. In the All-Star game, his final All-Star game, I believe, he hit a home run. And the immediate response of everyone afterward was, instead of enjoying the moment that sports gave you, was to be cynical and wonder whether the pitch had been grooved for Cal Ripken so he could have his moment.
It was.
Since then, I have seen a cynicism plague sports coverage throughout. And this is what I want to ask you. And I understand if Patriots fans aren't having it today. Look, man, you're the best thing I've ever seen. I've never seen in a salary cap sport anybody who could take advantage of all the advantages the way your organization has. Your organization is the best I've ever seen in sports. And this is not meant to take anything away from that. It's simply to ask this question. Stugotz, when faced with a quarterback who is aging in a way that has no precedent in the history of aging, is there any particular reason that people aren't questioning that? That it's not, and that, man, we climbed into Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning doesn't look the part on pharmaceuticals. And Al Jazeera was climbing around in his wife's stuff trying to get at the hormones.
Right.
And so what I'm asking you is it an unfair question to wonder when faced with something that has literally no precedent in the history of football or aging to be like, how?
No, it's not an unfair question to ask. How? How is he still doing this? Why is he still doing this? Wanting to know how it's possible that no other quarterback. Now, Drew Brees is 39, Dan, and he's still playing at a pretty high level, but not this level. Not 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Not 7 consecutive AFC championship
and
games.
Maybe the answer is Maybe the answer is the rules have been changed so much for quarterbacks to protect quarterbacks, combined with nutrition has gotten a lot better and quarterbacks can age better. I'm just saying that what you're seeing presently from Tom Brady has no historical precedent. It's why Max Kellerman has been so comfortable making the argument for as long as he has that soon Brady's going to fall off a cliff, because every quarterback who's arrived at his age, he's not just doing that off the top of his head. Any quarterback throughout history who has been any good drops precipitously headed toward 40 years old. It's not what you saw yesterday, where against the best defense in the sport, without Gronk, without Edelman, with nothing to speak of, down 20-10 late, he's still going down the field.
Figures it out. Yeah. Gets it done. Does the mystique of Belichick help him in terms of people asking those questions? Do they get muted a little bit because of the coach?
Yeah, that helps him because Belichick's going to mix and match. But I just wonder, though, what's the fair way to ask the questions? Is today not the day? Is it never the day? What is the fair way to ask the question, hey, this has no precedent. Can it simply be that Tom Brady, as a human ager, is someone who doesn't have precedent? Because they keep telling me, well, he doesn't eat bananas. I'm like, okay, that's the reason.
Well, if that's all it takes.
No, he's got a very serious diet. I know, but I know a lot of people who are obsessive compulsive. You got Bill Romanowski ionizing his own water and checking his fecal matter for nutrients. You got Karl Malone taking a helicopter to the top of a mountain and doing the defensive position all the way down the mountain. Like, a lot of these guys are crazy. Tom Brady is crazier than all of them? Than all of them. That he could add 5 years to his life, to his playing career.
It seems like he could play another 5 years, too.
That's the thing.
Yes.
That is the thing. He's running off Garoppolo because he's like, listen, Bill, is he a vampire? Because I know I'm a vampire. You got a vampire under the salary cap. Get rid of Garoppolo. He's not a vampire. Brady's still going to be doing this at 70.
Yeah. And Bill's like, but Tom, you're 40, you're 41. Like, Bill, I mean, come on, I got Jimmy Garoppolo here. And Brady's like, no, listen, Bill, I'm going to do this for another 10 years, at least. At least we're fine.
Bill,
trust me.
Bill, listen to me. Bill, listen to me. I'm going to take a break from winning my 17th Super Bowl to go to your eulogy. I'm going to be here long after all of you playing this position. I've got the right doctor. This Guerrero guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Honest, why is he not running all of medicine?
Well, he has a history, Dan.
Guillermo, put it on the poll.
There's that time that he said he could prevent cancer.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Should Guillermo be running? Should Guerrero be running the FDA?
Good save, yeah.
Should Guerrero be running the FDA?
Don Le Batard.
The Dolphins drafted Tunsil, played him at guard, let go of Brandon Albert, who was bought to replace Chris Long, who was taken with the number one. Up. Damn it.
Jake Long.
Damn it.
It's all right, man.
Cost me $1.
Stugotz.
That's pretty egregious. I don't know. Should have just
It's his brother. Well, how is that egregious?
That's super egregious because they are not related.
Wow. That's a $5 fine right there.
Okay.
Right out of the gates.
Chris Long?
You confused Chris Long
and
with
Howie,
the offensive lineman from Chicago. That's actually his brother.
So the correction made it worse. I should have just shut up.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Does anyone in the history of ESPN look better in a suit than Ryan Clark?
Wow.
Does anyone in the history of ESPN?
Oof.
Dude's got it cooking.
Yeah, he does.
Cooking with gas.
Mm-hmm.
So Stugotz is reporting, and his weekend observations are 30 minutes from now. 30 minutes from now, you will get Stugotz's weekend observations. But Stugotz is reporting not a schism in the Patriots locker room, but a frostiness.
Yeah.
He is reporting frostiness in the Lakers locker room.
The Patriots, that's a fun.
The Patriots locker room.
Although there is in the Lakers as well. So
the frostiness in the Patriots locker room. Perhaps you hear it here from Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, courtesy of the NFL Network.
There's a lot of strong-minded people, but when you have something good going, everyone's got to get their egos checked in and try to hold it together.
Guillermo, put on the poll. Does Bob Kraft's voice sound like the start of a horn of a clown car?
There's a lot of strong-minded people, but when you have something good going, everyone's got to get their egos checked in and try to hold it together.
That's a great observation by you. Voting yes on that one.
I like the sound in the background. What's that happening in the background at the end? I imagine that's the mystical sound that accompanies everything that the Patriots
Oh, that's
do.
the NFL Films bells.
Yeah. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so that is the mystical sound that follows the Patriots wherever it is they go.
There's a lot of strong-minded people, but when you have something good going, everyone's got to get their egos checked in and try to hold it together.
All right. Now, Bill Belichick's not interested in the ego portion of this equation. He was asked, hey, Bill, can you just give Tom a bunch of compliments? And his response was no.
Can you just speak to the resourcefulness of Tom dealing with something like that midweek and then coming out and playing a huge game like that?
I mean, look, Tom did a great job, and he's a tough guy. We all know that, all right? But, I mean, I'm not talking about open heart surgery here.
Frosty.
Stugotz is reporting frostiness. Hey, Belichick, you made it seem for 20 years that we are always talking about open heart surgery here. Except when Tom pulls it out at the end and you got nothing for him and you're running all these gadget plays, these flips back and forth, and Tom says to you, hey, Bill, I'll take it from here. We'll drag your old wrinkled butt to the Super Bowl. I got it. Best defense ever. You can't do anything. I got it from here. I'll beat him with Amendola.
Belichick also doesn't like you reading into these trick plays, thinking that's any sort of desperation. He doesn't think it's anything.
Bill, during the game, you guys pulled out 2 trick plays. How long would you say that you kind of keep those in the holster, and what goes into the decision process of when to employ those in the game?
Yeah, I don't know about the first question. We run the plays when we feel like it's the right play to call at the right time. That's what play calling is.
I'm telling you, this is the end. They are nearing the end, the two of them, and it might be in a couple of weeks because they are breaking rules of their relationship, and that's what happens towards the end. It was always supposed to be, regardless of the injury, Bill, I had open heart surgery, and Belichick just threw that out the window. And then Brady yesterday, in response to Belichick, he said, listen, on the stage, by the way, Bill doesn't like me talking about injuries, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. They're breaking all the rules, man. They're breaking up. It's over.
Okay, except it's a 5.5-point favorite in the Super Bowl against a team that I don't understand why they're favored against, except that they're favored against them just because you assume that Brady and Belichick should be. Like, as far as I can tell, you guys are like, yeah, I saw what. Wait, yeah, Nick Foles played better than Brady, yes, sir. Yeah, don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Nick Foles played a pretty good defense, too.
Yes, Nick Foles did much more to a very good defense as well.
I think it's because of the Super Bowl matchup is Belichick and Brady against a guy who obviously lives in a houseboat and Napoleon Dynamite.
That's part of it. That is part of it. Doug Peterson, does he live on a houseboat? I thought that we agreed that Chip Kelly was the guy who always was washing his boat on the weekend when you came by, and that Doug Peterson was the guy who was out with the woman from college who was the hottest woman 20 years ago while Ben McAdoo was back at the house taking care of her 6 kids.
I think you're right.
Didn't we agree that that's what Doug Peterson? Please look through the files there.
He is, yes.
I want to be accurate about this, and please get the accurate Doug Peterson.
Okay, Doug Peterson looks like a couple things. He looks like Myrtle Beach.
No, that's true. That's right. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Does Doug Peterson look like Myrtle Beach?
Doug Peterson looks like the husband who anxiously brushes his teeth for 15 minutes to try and hide the scent of whiskey and cigarettes from his judgmental in-laws he's meeting at church later that morning.
Also, that is Doug Peterson.
Oh, this is the one I was thinking about. Doug Peterson looks like he lives on a boat that never leaves the dock. Totally different than a houseboat. Oh, yeah. Doug Peterson looks like he's almost ready to confront his neighbors because their 6-year-old daughter has drawn chalk on his driveway. Doug Peterson looks like the guy dating your mom who calls you champ even though you're 26. Doug Peterson looks like the uncle that gives you your first beer.
He does. Myrtle Beach.
Find my Doug Peterson. I will not rest until my Doug Peterson. It's in the McAdoos. You got to check in the McAdoo.
I love that we have a file, and it's like a book. I mean,
that was from this is the 2017. I don't have the 2016 one because I was in the McAdoo's that made the tournament last.
All right. Well, in the interim, please, can you play the sound of Jeff Darlington of the NFL Network breaking down the game, Jeff Darlington style, before the game? Is this from sound from before the game? Breaking down a preview of the Jacksonville Patriots game?
This is providing insight as to why the Jags lost right here from Jeff Darlington.
Okay.
In the locker room behind me, one of the messages that Doug Marrone wants his team to understand is that they can be loose, they can play loose. That is what defines them. That's the kind of team they are. But he also wants them to tighten the screws and make sure that they realize in this stadium against this team, nothing less than perfection will get it done.
Wait a minute. You can't loosen it up and tighten the screws.
Oh, yes, you can.
No, you cannot. That's a cruddy report. You can't report that he wants them to be loose while tightening screws. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Le Batard Show. Can it be an accurate report if the report is they need to be loose but also tighten the screws?
Doug Peterson looks like the high school tennis coach who never plays against his students because he's never played tennis before.
No! No,
pretty good, though.
He may be accurate, but that is not the Doug Peterson I want.
Well, where is it?
I don't know. I'll have to find it.
That's in the 2016 pile. And this one.
But you're saying it's in the McAdoo file. Is that what you're saying?
We'll look it up. We'll find it. We'll bring it to you next.
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Dan Le Batard. Tom Ricketts is saying that the Cubs will not allow Sammy Sosa back into that organization for anything moving forward until he comes clean. And what I find absurd about that, and what a hypocrite this guy is that family made hundreds of millions of dollars off the name Sammy Sosa. By the way, never tested positive for steroid use. And if he was using steroids, which we all assume that he was, my guess is if he was using it, the Ricketts family had an inkling that was going on in their own clubhouse. And for him to come out many, many years later and say Sammy Sosa must come clean for us to allow him back into our prestigious organization, our club, get out of here with that.
Stugats.
Yeah, Ricketts didn't make money off Sammy Sosa. He won the bid in 2009. This was post-Sammy Sosa.
Well, that ruins my argument.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
This should be interesting. I just heard Stugats thank Roy for all the tennis names.
Buckle up, Dan. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. I hate when the majors roll around. I really do. Drivers who switch to Progressive could save an average of $620. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Novak Djokovic, that was easy. The Joker was stunned in straight sets by Hyun Chung only hours after Tenny Sandgren upset number 5 Dominique Thiem at the Australian Open. Meanwhile, Roger Federer moves on to the quarterfinals to play Thomas Berdych, and Rafael Nadal will take on Marin Cilic.
Hot streak.
Whoa. And finally, according to the journal BMJ Case Reports, a 34-year-old described as previously fit and well attempted to stop a particularly forceful sneeze by pinching the nose and holding his mouth closed. Not long afterward, he noticed something was wrong. It hurt when he swallowed, and he observed a change of voice. What's more, his neck had swollen and, when he tried to move it, produced an unsettling popping and crackling sensation. As it turns out, his doctors noticed it too. Once he had been admitted to the emergency department, X-rays revealed the cause. Little streaks of air embedded in the soft tissue of his neck. In other words, by trying to suppress the full force of his sneeze, the man literally ruptured his throat. The air that sneeze would have blasted forth instead made its way into his soft tissue as tiny bubbles. That is frightening. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Do you hold your nose when you sneeze? Stugats, if you're just joining us, went to a flea market this weekend, sat down in a massage chair, looked up from his face, and he looked like Nathan Peterman running off of the field during that Colts Bills game in the snow. He had so much snot plastered to the front of his face, lacquered on the front of his face, congealed on the front of his face.
Do you like those chair massages? Do you like those things?
They're delightful.
Aren't they great?
Who doesn't like the chair massage?
Now, some people don't like them. They're not a big
Here,
fan.
I'll put it on the poll. Do you like a good chair massage? Who doesn't like a good chair massage?
Mike Ryan, for one. Mike Ryan doesn't like massages, period. I mean, but the chair massage, because it's a little bit uncomfortable. It can be a little bit uncomfortable at times, right?
All right, we'll put it on the poll. We're going to get to Stugatz's weekend observations in a second. Mort has corrected me. When Mort writes in with a correction, I tend to pay attention. He says that what I said about Carson Wentz the last segment was wrong, and he's right. I was overstated. But what I mean about Carson Wentz is not that he hasn't been very good this year, that what he's been this year, I believe to be what Dak Prescott was when he was going 13-3 behind a team that I otherwise thought was overwhelming. So Carson Wentz has made a leap. He's been great this year. He was in the MVP conversation. All I'm saying is the Philadelphia Eagles ought not be in a Super Bowl where they're an underdog to anybody based on one of the few things I know in that sport this year is that team is good.
Right.
It's one of the very few things I can say with conviction. The Philadelphia Eagles are excellent. And I can say it with more conviction than I would even say it about the Patriots.
No doubt. Yeah, very talented team. They've done a good job putting it together. Wentz had 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions before he got injured.
But Dak had a similar type of season. Dak, when they were going 13-3, Dak was doing similar things. And I didn't think it was because of Dak. I thought it was because the team was that overwhelming. Regardless, let's get to Stugatz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugatz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Dan, the Jacksonville Jaguars are a defense away. Can't be an all-time defense and give up that drive and that run to end the game. Hard to say a football game ever comes down to a single play. But the 3rd and 18 at the end of the first half by the Patriots that led to a touchdown is about as close as it gets. I hate them. Isaiah Thomas said defensively, the Cavaliers simply don't trust each other. No, Isaiah, it's just you they don't trust. IT2. More like IT2 bad. He's the biggest offensive liability in the NBA. When asked about the possibility of Tyronn Lue getting let go, LeBron James said, I would hope not, and I really don't know. A, you do know, and B, you don't need to hope for something when you control its outcome. Chris Paul, do it in the postseason. Weekend golfers who wear pants on the golf course, you look ridiculous, take them off. Todd Haley, Josh Allen, sideline argument, collision course. Danny Amendola finally starting to pay dividends. 55 seconds, 2 timeouts in the AFC Championship game, and you take a knee. Nothing will prove Chris Simms' point more than that. With that said, Doug Marrone, you are gutless. Congratulations. What happened there?
Oh, I mean, he was gutless. He does not trust his quarterback.
He preaches toughness to his team the entire year.
That's right.
And in the biggest moments, he shrinks.
That's right.
Displays no toughness.
That's right, Marrone.
Doug Marrone.
That's it, Doug Marrone. 55 seconds left. You march down that field with Blake Bortles.
Doug Moron.
Oh.
What happened there?
Exhibiting the behavior of a moron.
Thank you. Congratulations to Greg Olsen, Benjamin Watson, and J.J. Watt for being finalists for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Greg Olsen, Benjamin Watson. Spoiler alert, you're not winning. Actually, doing some more research on the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, it says here it celebrates excellence on and off the field. Allow me to rattle off all the on-field excellence J.J. Watt had this season. Enes Kanter. At the end of the day, he's still LeBron James. And you are Enes Kanter.
That's true.
Thank you. He even makes field goals exciting. Damn. Tony Romo, you are good. Barry Church, not helping polar bear conservation. Blake Bortles. Tears from a man who knows he's made his last start as a Jacksonville Jaguar. I've seen some gross things on TV, but nothing will ever compare to the sight of seeing Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia hug. No Edelman, no Gronk, no problem. I hate them. Bill Belichick had no idea you were capable of that kind of emotion. Was it just me, or did it feel like Bill Belichick was saying goodbye? Bob Kraft, Bill Belichick, on stage embrace. Frosty, trying to decipher whether or not Gronk has a concussion. Has to be the toughest job in sports.
It's so true.
He got out. Wow.
It's the same thing. Whoa.
He got out. Wow.
Whoa.
He gave 2 wows.
Whoa. You
Wow.
got Red Bull.
NFL MVP, Tony Romo. If you combine quarterback play and broadcasting, I take Romo over Aikman. Going to be difficult for the Patriots to overcome the clear advantage the Eagles have at quarterback.
I'm still stuck with like one of Gronk's eyes pinwheeling, and you're like, what? It's normal. It's not. This isn't a concussion. Like one of his eyes is just pinwheeling, and like, yeah, this is Gronk. It's whether he's dancing to LMFAO or in the concussion protocol, one of his eyes pinwheel.
The way they know he has a concussion is he's more coherent.
That's right. That's right. Gronk is making sense.
Oh, man. If water gets all over the counter when you are washing silverware in the sink, then you have a bad sink. Abby, bad sink. Jaguar fans, I'm a Jets fan. I get to experience that 2 times a year. Jeffrey Lurie, congratulations on your 2nd Super Bowl and for being the 2nd most famous Clark University alum behind me. Nick made us all look like Foles, Super Foles. I'm sure the nice people of Minnesota are thrilled to be hosting all the nice people from Philadelphia and Boston.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Is there a worse confluence?
Oh, dear God. I'm sorry, Minnesota. You almost had your home team in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Instead, you got Eagle fans and Patriots fans. Good luck with that.
Have fun. Go away for a week. Jay Ajayi, good things happen to those who leave the Dolphins. Congratulations. Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, making it to the Super Bowl with the Eagles has to sting. Grab the laminated Waffle House menu and go ahead and find your happy place. 15 yards is totally worth knocking out other teams' best players. Yep. Post-game press conference. Wow. Bill Belichick hates Tom Brady. Tom Brady, bad hair day. I wish Bill Belichick would stop doing the post-game pressers in those 3/4 sweatshirts. Too much upper arm hair. It's gross. Enough is enough. Chris Berman and Tom Jackson, just like riding a bike, with Keyshawn Johnson inexplicably sitting on the handlebars. There's a good chance Doug Peterson just cracked open another beer. State Farm, if you were a good neighbor, you'd stop shoving Aaron Rodgers and Clay Matthews down my throat. Vikings, Eagles, snooze fest. Reason number 1 as to why every NFL team has hope in August. Nick Foles. The Eagles should trade Carson Wentz. The case is closed. Keenum is average. The heel turn. I polled on Chris Sims on Sunday NFL Countdown, who's been nothing but good to me, and our show should send me straight to hell. And when I get there, I'll be sure to say hello to Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Here comes the money.
What was terrible?
What I did to Sims, man. It was just...
What,
I had a weird experience watching it. I was thrilled that I had finally made it to NFL Countdown, and I wanted to reach inside the television and shut my own mouth.
Yeah.
I did. I wanted to. Weird. I was mean to him. But I looked great.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Should Doug Peterson coach the Super Bowl with a half-full can of Schlitz malt liquor in his hand? Yes or no?
Like, if he cracked a beer right now,
That's
you would
right.
not be surprised.
Right now.
Yes.
No, I feel like Doug Peterson should go everywhere. I feel like he should give all press conferences with a surgically attached Schlitz malt liquor can in his right hand.
Hi, this is Papi. Do you know that my TV show Highly Questionable is not only on ESPN2 every day at 4:30 Eastern, it is also available as a podcast. You can listen or subscribe to the Highly Questionable podcast on ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Don Le Batard.
Bill Belichick has told his players that despite the blizzard that's expected in the New England area, the Patriots will hold its final practices during its playoff bye week. No excuses for being late. Moron.
Stugotz.
Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Don't
I
do
mean,
that.
no
Don't do
excuses for
that.
being late.
And
I'm sorry.
If he needs it, you got to give it to him. He's helping Bill.
He is displaying behavior, that of a moron. That's all I'm saying. Save it. We're good. You kick, save, and abuse.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
I think ESPN needs to change the way that it covers the Patriots. Like, you should just have, after a Patriots game, several analysts on one channel weeping. Just weeping. Softly, like, and just yelling, how?
Yeah.
How? Rex Burkhead, how?
Yep.
How? You fumbled. Deion Lewis fumbled. Blake Bortles plays perfect. Jacksonville plays the perfect game, executes their game plan flawlessly. Their defense looks great. How? And then you look up and really, 3rd and 18 doesn't matter? All of a sudden, 3rd and 18 doesn't matter against Jacksonville. Also, as an added bonus, hey, look, there's Philip Dorsett. Haven't seen him since we traded Jacoby Brissett. There he is, catching a ball, of course.
Made the trade worth it. One play.
Unbelievable,
One play. I'm telling you, like that sequence, you talked about this earlier, where the Jaguars come out of a timeout and they complete a first down, which would have kept their momentum going.
Hold on. Jacksonville was up 14-3 at the end of the first half. They've got the ball in the Patriots' territory. They could keep the ball for the rest of the half if they just convert this 3rd and 7. They convert the 3rd and 7. Blake Bortles does the thing that Tom Brady never does, which is he snapped at a hiccup late. They get a delay of game. They back him up. And, of course, the Patriots score on the last drive of the half to make it 14-10 because of bleeping course. Because go bleep yourselves!
It's that play. Delay a game in a 3rd and 18. Patriots win. It's so annoying.
It has to be the greatest thing that Patriot fans feel. That everyone's reaction is, how? Go bleep yourselves. You're cheating. I know you're cheating. How are you cheating? I know you are because you can't keep doing this.
They put some sort of substance on Brady's bandage right beneath the bandage. No, when they came back, Dan, I'm telling you, because I taped the game, I went back and looked at that.
So
I dissected it as closely as I could.
I did too, and I investigated, and it was magic. They put magic on his hand. I saw him. There was a warlock of some sort. I saw him. Get Ted Wells to investigate the warlock that was on the sideline.
Why was the ref happy?
It was unbelievable. I'm sitting there. Oh, Jacksonville's winning. It's 2010. Next thing I know, Eye of Newt, bing, bang, boom. Jacksonville season's over.
The Patriots are Nick Foles away from a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. They're down. They're losing. They're clearly dead. It's over, right? It's over. Jacksonville's defense is great. There's no Gronk out there. How are they going to do it? How is it? Dorsett, where's he been?
One catch, 31 yards. The biggest catch of the year.
No, and then there's this other thing the Patriots have figured out. Like, we sit here and we talk so much about how you can get winning in the margins and where you can get your advantages. They're just like, are we really going to do this rule where I could just throw it 40 yards down the sidelines? You're going to give me all 40 of those yards because the defensive back just ran into a wide receiver, ran him out of bounds? You guys are going to keep giving me in a game where I can't get 10 yards. You guys are going to keep giving me 40 yards if I just throw a punt up over there on the left and let the defensive back just run into my fast wide receiver?
Let's run that play often.
Let's just keep running that play. That seems like a good play where I will get a lot of rewards for very little risk.
That's on the corner, though. He was trying to see too much, and when you try to see too much, you see nothing.
Let's see Louis Riddick's analysis of that particular play. This is why the Patriots are in the Super Bowl.
You can't play DB if you're looking at the wrong thing. If you're trying to see too much, you see nothing. You got to try and see a little bit, and you see everything.
Yeah, and what you see is that they always win. So I'm telling you, that Jags locker room after that game had to be the single most confused place in America.
Yes. We played the exact game we set out to play.
We did everything the coaches told us to. We knocked out Gronk. We weren't even supposed. We don't want anyone to know they told us that, but they said, yeah, any 15-yard penalty that knocks out Gronk, we're all good with it.
We were loose while our screws were tight.
Yes.
Bills didn't throw an interception.
We did everything.
Jalen Ramsey flew home from Foxborough. We won, right, guys? Guys, we won. Yes? Why is everyone so sad?
Jalen Ramsey.
We're going to the Super Bowl. Why is no one on this plane celebrating?
Marone's breaking down Eagles film right now.
Yes, he is. Well, he's the reason they lost.
I mean, Jacksonville. You cowards.
It was so bad, man.
Exhibiting the behavior of cowards.
But we all get it. We all get why you were.
Yeah, you're scared of your own quarterback.
Doesn't stop us from calling you cowards, but we get it.
Guillermo, put it on the poll.
This quarterback was playing fine.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Which quarterback were the Jags more scared of at the end of the game yesterday?
Great question.
Tom Brady or Blake Bortles?
Don Le Batard.
Belichick! Liar!
Stugats.
Tom Brady's lying! Belichick's lying! Liar!
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Chris Sims going to join us. He felt pretty good yesterday. Noon Eastern on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. James Patterson will join us at 12:30, my favorite author.
That is how we're celebrating the Patriots and another trip to the Super Bowl, by talking to the author of an Aaron Hernandez book that is out now.
They already hate us, man.
Yes, they do. Yes. And the feeling's mutual.
Oh, man. Here's your SportsCenter update. Novak Djokovic was stunned in straight sets by Hyun Chung only hours after Tennis Sandgren upset number 5 Dominique Thiem at the Australian Open. Meanwhile, Roger Federer moves on to the quarterfinals to play Thomas Berdych, and Rafael Nadal will take on Marin Cilic. And finally, a Maryland man was arrested following an hours-long standoff with law enforcement that police say began when a family member took a bite of his grilled cheese sandwich. Police say the man was eating with his wife and daughter and became angry when one of them took a bite of his sandwich, prompting him to fire a shot inside the house. The wife and daughter were able to safely leave the house, but the man barricaded himself inside. He surrendered peacefully shortly before 9 p.m. No one was injured. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
I have not looked at any of the numbers, but my guess would be that ratings for football yesterday were highest in the fourth quarter of Patriots, Jags. And I think what sweeps over America in that moment is husbands, maybe their wives aren't interested in sports, or wives, maybe their husbands aren't interested in sports. You open up the front door on whoever's gardening outside and you scream, "Honey, it's happening again. The Brady thing is happening again."
They run inside.
They're down, everybody, and you're just like telling your neighbors, guys, it's that thing. It's happening again. It's like a horror movie mist moving over your neighborhood.
Yes. My wife went the other way yesterday because she's so numb to it at this point, me being a Jet fan and seeing that 2 times a year, where I said to her, she didn't want to watch it. She just knew the outcome. I don't need to watch. I know what's going to happen.
Everyone knew the outcome. Everyone knew exactly what would happen there. But it was just fascinating to watch because of this reason, Stugats. There are very few things in sports like this. The Warriors a couple of years ago were this, where they're down 10 with a minute and a half left, and you know you are going to get a furnace blast of the best you've ever seen. Like, you're going to get desperation mixed with skill, mixed with look out. They don't want to lose. They're at their most desperate. Last felt it sort of like Michael Jordan's years, stripping Karl Malone late and all that stuff, where you're like, here they come again. Here they come. And yesterday, they're down 20-10, and they look constipated all game. Jacksonville runs everything they want to run, hide their quarterback, play a flawless game within their limitations. But in that last quarter, here was the difference in that football game. neither team respected one of the quarterbacks, and both teams feared the other one. Like both teams.
Yes. Right. No one fears Blake Bortles, and they absolutely respect and fear Tom Brady.
Jackson,
his own coach. Listen, if you want to dispute and argue with Chris Sims, do it all you want. But what you saw yesterday is what Chris Sims has been talking about for a while now. That Blake Bortles is holding that team back.
Jacksonville was terrified of its own quarterback, asking him to make any kind of play.
Right.
Terrified.
Yes.
And so it was just like a shell game all game. And then late in the game, you saw what Belichick did, where late in the game he just starts corner blitzing and Blake just throws it out of bounds because he's got no answers.
Correct.
But here's the thing that was happening to me. It's one thing for you to shout to your neighbors, it's happening again, here it comes. It's another thing entirely for Romo, who has a ton of fourth quarter comebacks, to be giddy in the booth because he's like, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes.
Yes.
I want to see this great defense against this quarterback, and I know who's going to win.
Yep. It was, he is so good Brady is great at playing quarterback. Tony Romo is so good at calling football games. The excitement that it's like friends of mine sitting on a couch. That's the way we watch the game.
But to hear him that excited because he knew what was coming.
Of course.
And basically, we all had it this way, right? We all had Jacksonville coming down and getting the 23rd point so that the Patriots would win 24-23 on a touchdown.
He was bugging Nance yesterday. That catch that Amendola made where it was close to the ground, and all you hear is Romo go, whoa, hey, I don't know. And Nance is like, settle down. I didn't see anything in that replay.
Listen, it's the postseason. You got to step up, and he ratcheted up his performance. He did. I mean, he just trampled
There were
Nance.
a lot of hey-oh.
Yeah, but that's how you watch the game. I mean, when you're sitting in your living room, hey-oh, whoa, hey-oh.
Hey-oh.
I mean, it's amazing. He's fantastic at it. Best I've ever seen.
Stugotz, 3rd and 18, you get an incompletion there. You end the game.
Or no delay of game on the drive before, and you probably end the game.
The Jags made 2 of the most imperceptible mistakes. I will say this, not since the first Super Bowl that Brady and Belichick won together have I seen them more surprised by a result. Not even last year when they came back from 28-3 in the Super Bowl did they seem as surprised to me as they were yesterday by the fact that they won that game that way.
Oh, the Seattle Super Bowl, when they didn't hand it to Marshawn Lynch and Butler made the interception. I mean, they stole that game.
You know what? Okay, let me amend that. Because, yes,
they did steal it.
When at the end you've won the Super Bowl on the last play, you're going to be that kind of surprised. What I'm saying...
Well, they were also surprised at the play call, too.
Yes, but what I'm saying is the Patriots were surprised to win at the end of yesterday. Once they'd seen the way the game played out and the way Jacksonville was doing everything that Jacksonville intended to do when it went in there, what felt like relief, what felt like at the end of that game, they business-like go into the Super Bowl because they've been there so many times. They seem to be relaxed, relieved, surprised.
That felt like their reaction, Patricia and Belichick and embracing and hugging and all of it. They seemed surprised and relieved and saying to themselves, how the heck did we get
my point, though, against Atlanta and Seattle, the Patriots went into that game feeling like they had the better team and they had a chance. And then the way that game played out, this particular game, the way it played out felt to me like the first Super Bowl where they're just sort of they were 17.5-point dogs,
right.
The Rams, and they're just hanging around. They're just sitting around there. And then at the end of the game, they can't believe that they just beat that team.
To put it kind of in perspective, because I thought Romo did a fantastic job. I wonder if you agree with this. He said what they had to do yesterday against that defense in particular was more daunting than coming back against the Falcons last year in the Super Bowl.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that because scoring 25 points in the last bit of a Super Bowl to erase a 28-3 lead against that Atlanta team, no, that's the most insurmountable thing I've seen them be able to mount. But this, yes, without Gronk,
right?
Without Gronk playing against that Jacksonville defense down 20-10, you should lose that game.
Part of the reason you're probably seeing a little bit more emotion, especially that Patricia hug with Belichick, is this kind of feels like a last ride for the offensive and defensive coordinators there. No matter what happens at the top with Belichick, Kraft, and Brady, they're going to be losing tenured coordinators in McDaniels and Patricia.
They're going to lose 3, perhaps. Fuentes, right? To Arizona. 3 assistants.
Patricia or McDaniel should stick around for that Patriots job.
They absolutely should, because Belichick's leaving. I mean, I'm the only one who noticed this. Well, clearly Chris did as well, but Belichick is gone. I mean, that felt like a goodbye. Thank you, Patriot fans. I'm out of here. And then Frosty with old Bob Kraft on the stage after the game. Oof. And you see Brady and Belichick barely made eye contact. It's over.
Do you think if you keep wishing this to be so, as you have for the last 7 years, that one day you're just going to be right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you're rooting for. The math will eventually run out on them.
Yes.
This is a new twist on an old classic. He never had Belichick just straight up leaving.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. What ends first, Stugatz's ESPN career or the Patriots' reign?
Here comes the money.
Am I going to miss Tom Brady's Hall of Fame speech?
That's right. You're not even going to have a platform anymore. He's going to give his Hall of Fame speech from the Super Bowl MVP stage after winning his 20th Super Bowl at the age of 64.
Oh, man.
I love that stat so much that they put up all the quarterbacks on the screen in the playoffs. Bortles, 2 career playoff starts. Foles, 2 career playoff starts. Keenum, 1 career playoff start. And then just 5 Brady rings. He's got as many rings as you people have games that you played in.
I hate him.
This week, cheaters, liars, let's get them. They keep winning. We don't understand how it is.
And Boston fans, Patriot fans still get upset. Like, we're joking, man. We respect the hell out of that team, man. I mean, we really, oh, no. I was looking at a whole thing where I'm praising the Patriots and, you know, I respect them, and, but I don't.
There's no disputing their greatness.
You want more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats? Tune in, starting at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Dan Le Batard.
Wasted away again in Margaritaville. Searching for my lost shaker of sand.
Stugats.
Some people claim that there's a green person to blame.
Really?
But I don't.
I'm not
Margaritaville, baby.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Chris Sims, I'm sorry, he probably hates me.
Well, let's find out what's going on with Chris Sims. But before we get to anything, let's get to our 42nd ranked quarterback in the NFL. Chris Sims of Bleacher Report said Blake Bortles was the 70th best quarterback in the universe, and he has proceeded to name them all daily since saying that. So 42, number 42 for Chris Sims today after Drew Stanton and Matt Moore is...
Trevor Siemian, Denver Broncos.
Really? Okay, maybe. I feel like
you're starting to question the list now.
Yeah, now is the first time I've questioned because I feel like Siemian would do the same things Bortles did yesterday.
Right, but he gave you Nathan Peterman. You didn't question it then.
No. This is my breaking point right here.
This is it, huh? This is where the final straw. You've had enough.
It's too funny. Sims, I got to tell you, a light went off in my head, which doesn't happen often. It happened yesterday, where I realized exactly what it is that you were saying. And you're right. And I apologize because you are right. 55 seconds to go, 2 timeouts, end of the first half, and they take a couple of knees because they simply don't trust their quarterback.
In the passing age,
they don't trust them.
Chris, in the passing age, is there any other quarterback that you can imagine them doing something like that with?
No, this is why I literally want, Stugats, thank you, first of all, because I'm still icing down my kahunas from all the low blows you gave me on ESPN yesterday.
Sorry.
Thank you for that.
I'm sorry.
But no, it's okay. Don't worry. Yes, I mean, that says it all. Thank you for saying that, guys. I mean, Jacksonville was basically holding up a sign right there going, our quarterback's number 70. We don't trust him to go down the field right here.
You're right.
I mean, that's what they were doing. Oh, 3rd and 11 late in the third quarter, draw play. That was another, hey, I'm number 70 at quarterback, and they don't trust me to throw the ball in 3rd and 11. You know, not to throw the ball at the end of the game there with one of the shots. You know, New England with Tom Brady's probably going to go down to score. You need to get a first down to win the game. No, we're not going to throw it because what? #70. That's why.
So you saw the same thing we did because as conservative as they were, they had the perfect game plan given their limitations.
Yes, they did.
They executed that game game plan flawlessly as well, until I thought, Chris, the last 6 minutes of the game where offensively they started shrinking even more. So they became even more scared than they'd been playing on offense all game.
Yeah, they got extremely conservative in the second half, and you're right. I mean, the game went about as perfect as it could go for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, when you read the bottom stat line, you would go, man, Jacksonville won this game, right? I mean, they had the ball for over 35 minutes, 30 more yards of total offense altogether, all those things. Yes, Blake Bortles did a lot of good things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here just to yell at him and say that. He executed a game plan that was amazing, but in that, remember, they're executing a game plan and doing things on offense because of his limitations. That's what they're doing. And, again, the best team on the football field, you guys saw it. It was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yep. If you took the 22 starters from both teams and said, okay, let's make the best possible team, the only Patriots you're going to take are Brady, Gronkowski, maybe one O-lineman, and Devin McCourty. The rest of the team is going to be Jaguars. So, it's just one of those things. Again, I'm not proud of myself, but you guys drug me into this, and now I'm going down swinging.
Chris, it's interesting because do you blame that? So the final 6 minutes, 7 minutes, where Dan is right, the game plan completely changed. It got even more conservative, and we all agree, okay, the quarterback is limited. But is that on the quarterback who's played well the last 2 weeks and has played well the last 2 months on the road, or is that on the head coach, Doug Marrone?
No, I think it is. It's just what they've done all year long. See, to me, this is why they turned around the team in Jacksonville this year. Because in past years, Gus Bradley just said, "Well, Blake Bortles, we're going to treat him like every other quarterback in football. We want him to drop back and throw the ball over the field." Oh yeah, okay, great, but that's why you were 3-13 and you don't have a job anymore. Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin said, "We can't ask him to do these kind of things. This is not what he does. You better find things that he does really well and be creative and find a million different ways to do it, whether it be a tight end screen or a receiver screen, or like Romo was saying on the Telegraph, they love to throw shallow crosses. Yeah, every quarterback loves to throw the 5-yard shallow cross in front of them. It's open all the time. So, yes, it's a Marrone thing, but it's also his managing of the football game when he did let Bortles go at the end of halves and end of games, not only throughout his career and his history, but even this season. Usually disaster came about, and I think he learned his lesson. So he was going to go, you know what, we're going to control the clock, and I'm going to keep trusting this great defense I got.
Bleacher Report is where you catch him. Thank you, Chris. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
All right, see you, Chris.
Stugotz, after trading Jacoby Brissett, after trading Jimmy Garoppolo, the Patriots, it's like a riddle. The Patriots still found themselves in a situation yesterday where the best defense in the league was still fearing 2 quarterbacks. It's like a riddle because Jacksonville was fearing Brady and its own quarterback.
Yes.
You were watching a trip to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure I've ever seen it before.
I mean, Marrone was just trying to get to the finish line.
I didn't even feel like when the Ravens were winning the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer, I did not feel what I felt yesterday, which is that's a high school offense being run. Trent Dilfer, I remember that season throwing the ball down the field, trying things down the field, and Dilfer was terrible. Dilfer was terrible that whole season. But the Jacksonville blueprint was, we've been hearing, right, Stugotz? All of these franchises that don't have a quarterback, they all point to the Brad Johnson Super Bowl of John Gruden with that defense and the Trent Dilfer Super Bowl. It's what Philadelphia and the Vikings were banking on here.
Right.
The idea of, look, our defenses are good enough that we could do it with an everyman quarterback. But what the Jags were trying to do with Blake Bortles yesterday was run a high school offense, Stugotz. That's the thing that's jarring about what you were watching, and yet it was working all game. High school offense, slants, screens. We're not throwing anything 15 yards down the field.
Right.
We're going to play right here, 10 yards, and if it's 3rd and 2 and we don't get it, we're going to punt. And they executed it all game long.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, they're terrified of their own quarterback.
I think you didn't have that feeling with Dilfer. I think Baltimore was playing an opponent, like throughout that playoff run, they beat the Giants in the Super Bowl. They went 34-7.
No, but they also they won at the Raiders during that run in a game. Saragusa, I think, knocked out Rich Gannon. the MVP of the league.
Oh, okay.
Saragusa did. I think that was the year. I don't think I'm mixing up 2 years. But regardless, what's the point? Because that's what the Jags were trying to do. They were trying to Trent Dilfer their way to the Super Bowl.
No, they absolutely weren't. Dilfer was bad that year. I'm just saying I don't think the Ravens throughout that run played a team like the Patriots where they had a big lead and they blew it in the fourth quarter because they were trying to hide Trent Dilfer. They weren't trying to do that. To your point, they were at least letting Trent Dilfer, as bad as he was, try to win them some games.
I just can't believe that what we're seeing at the tail end of Tom Brady's historic career is all of these things that make him appear even greater than he was 10 minutes ago. I don't understand how you come back from 28-3. That's got to be the end of the story, doesn't it?
Yes.
You come back from 28-3 to beat the Falcons. It can't get better than that, can it?
No.
But then you get your ass dragged all day yesterday. You got no Gronk. You're playing the best defense in the league. You're down 20-10 in the fourth quarter. You've got nothing, and everyone knows it. It's Amendola and Burkhead. My God, if they got lost at the grocery store, you'd call the PA and say, get my kids back. My kids are lost in the Amendola, and they're going against Calais Campbell. He's 6'9". Chunks of linebacker in his stool when he gets up in the morning. And Rex Burkhead and Amendola hang from Calais Campbell's keychains.
Super Bowl. They played the Raiders in the AFC Championship game, and they won that game 16-3. They gave up us 16 points in the 3 playoff games. Ravens defense also slightly better than Jacksonville.
Yes, that was historic, but I'm saying that's the one we always point to. That and the Sap Bucks defenses of Brad Johnson. That's how Jacksonville was trying to get to the Super Bowl. But I don't think I've ever seen a professional football team play a playoff game where they were so clearly trying to hide their own quarterback as the one I saw yesterday.
Dan Le Batard,
who sounds like the friendliest of the monsters here. Is it Al Jefferson? Calais Campbell?
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes. Or is it Arvydas Sabonis?
I never have chance to be in the draft.
Stugats.
Very difficult vote. We've never had a poll harder than this one. It's the hardest poll in the history of polling.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
This is an unusual report coming through here from Adrian Wojnarowski and Michael C. Wright. Months of discord. They are reporting a schism.
Uh-oh.
Yes, everybody stand back. Wojnarowski and Michael C. Wright are reporting a schism.
Whoa.
Months of discord centering on elements of treatment, rehabilitation, and timetables for his return from a right quad injury have had a chilling impact on San Antonio star Kawhi Leonard's relationship with the franchise and coaching staff, league sources told ESPN.
Got one with the Patriots this year, got one with the Spurs. I mean, interesting to see these two teams, which seem kind of bulletproof, right? And they're going through this.
Well, the Spurs never deal with this, and it makes me think that Kawhi Leonard is probably in some physical pain, probably blames his rehab and the fact he's only played 9 games this season or whatever it is on the fact that they keep trying to get him back and other things. Kawhi's got to think about long term.
Correct.
The Spurs might be tempted to think short term, and within that divide, a lot of people aren't going to get along with their rehabbing star.
Spurs thinking about this year, winning championships this year.
Or just trying to get him back out there or whatever. Right. I just don't think that Kawhi Leonard has ever had a work ethic problem. You know what I mean? Like, nobody thinks of Kawhi Leonard as a guy. The Spurs do things the right way, but he's not exactly Dion Waiters.
No, if anything, people think the opposite. They think of a guy who's quiet, just tends to his business, works really hard, one of the best players in the league.
I honestly can't think of an odder situation in basketball to present itself in terms of a player not getting along with management than this guy against this team.
Shocking.
I mean, I don't know.
100%.
I don't know what else I would point to and say that would be equally shocking.
You could see the Brady Belichick. You could see that. You could see the clash of egos. One guy thinks he's responsible, the other guy, but not this team, not this guy with this team with this coach.
It's just you would never think that Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge. You understand when LaMarcus Aldridge goes astray of the Spurs, you assume for the first time in your life that LaMarcus Aldridge is a bad apple.
Correct.
You don't assume
Yes.
that the Spurs are wrong there. LaMarcus Aldridge has been nothing but a pillar of professionalism his entire career. And when he goes sideways on the Spurs, you're like, Aldridge must not be special.
Yep. First thing I thought of when I heard that story.
But now, now you got your two big guys saying they're not down so much. Do we ever allow these damn things to end well? Like Belichick's going to end up coaching somewhere else.
Yep. The Giants, yeah.
And are we going to allow Popovich to have the graceful ending or?
No.
How can you tell if things are frosty between Kawhi and the Spurs? How?
How would you know?
How would you know?
Other than the reporting from Woj, right? Like if you didn't have the reporting from Woj, how would you know? I saw it yesterday up in Foxborough. I saw it with my own two eyes. I don't need Seth Wickersham or anyone to tell me. It is frosty up there. But Mike is right. It's a great point. How would you know without Woj's reporting?
We're all surprised by this because there's a story about Kawhi Leonard. There's just never been a story about Kawhi Leonard other than his stat line.
That's right.
Is this the first story ever?
Well, this is the most. Is this the most interesting thing the Spurs have done in 20 years? Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is this the most interesting thing the Spurs have done in 20 years?
Fat Chris is right. There was a story about Kawhi Leonard and the size of his hands. Fat Chris is right.
A story. Somebody wrote a story about big hand. Big-handed Kawhi Leonard. Thank you, Chris, for being right about that. Someone wrote a story about Kawhi Leonard's big hands. In 10 minutes, we're going to have James Patterson on. He's an author who wrote about the Aaron Hernandez murder. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that through laughs. I just don't think it's fair what we're doing to the Patriots today.
You want to bump until tomorrow?
They just had that game, and now this is not on purpose. We are not doing this on purpose. It just so happens that this is when the author's selling his book now. The book just came out. It's certainly interesting material. There's no disputing that.
This is the only day he could do it?
Well, this was the day he was booked, and he was booked. He was booked before anything we saw yesterday.
Right, but he's booked on the heels of an AFC championship
I understand
game.
It's not the greatest timing by our show to interview an author about a murder.
But it's great timing by him.
Yeah.
Because you got Patriots fans' attention either way today.
Well, but Stugotz, this is the other thing about, for all we lament, right? Football, it's an imperfect measurement system. Atlanta's one Julio Jones catch away from eliminating the Eagles. The Saints are one miracle away from not playing in the game. For all of that said, the NFL, after another season, ratings are down. Is it the Kaepernick effect? This is the perfect Super Bowl. They needed you don't want Jacksonville, Philadelphia.
No, you got two big markets. You got Brady.
But I'm saying everyone wants to watch Brady in the Super Bowl, and he's playing against the team that has been the best team all year without dispute by consensus, whether their quarterback is Foles or Wentz, or Foles made to look like Wentz because he gets to play in that offense.
I guess best possible matchup. I don't know. Do the Cowboys, if you're the NFL, do you always want the Cowboys? I know you want the Patriots in there.
I guess, but in terms of merit, the Eagles, both of these teams merit their Super Bowl appearances. We're not sitting here disputing whether or not these are the two best teams in the league.
No, you're right. This is a rare case, a rare season where we have the two best teams in the NFL.
And it's just a perfect Super Bowl for football. Like how it's just now it's not just the Brady storyline. Again, it's Brady against yet another opponent. It's not Seattle. It's someone we haven't seen before. It's a new team with
a really good defense.
The Eagles have been really good, but I just love that the spread today. I feel like the spread today was just 5.5 Patriots, and it's based on nothing more than, man, Brady's good.
Well, that's it. It's Tom Brady minus 5.5 over Nick Foles.
I know, but Nick Foles looked like Wentz. Yeah, the most impressive quarterback performance this weekend was put together by Nick Foles.
It was. Do it in the Super Bowl. He hasn't. Tom has.
Oh, okay, very good.
5 times.
That's it. Excellent advice from Stugotz. Hey, Nick Foles, do it in the Super Bowl before you play the Super Bowl.
Don Le Batard.
You want to make something smart really dumb? I give you Stugotz.
Stugotz.
You love sandwiches, huh?
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. James Patterson going to join the show in just a second on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I'm rattled because there are a bunch of tennis names in front of me. These are tough. Here's your SportsCenter update. In the ladies' bracket for the Australian Open, number 1 ranked Simona Halep cruised by Naomi Osaka in straight sets to move on to the quarterfinals. Other quarterfinal matches include Caroline Wozniacki versus Carla Suarez Navarro, Elise Mertens versus Elena Svitolina, no idea, Angelique Kerber versus Madison Keys, and finally, Rush band member Alex Lifeson has confirmed Rush's breakup, saying, quote, after 41 years, we felt like it was enough. That's sad.
Oh.
That stinks. Yeah.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Are you bummed that Rush broke up?
That was the first concert I ever went to. Rush and then AC/DC. That stinks. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo also put on the poll, would you be okay with an alarm system throughout America to alert you when that Patriots thing was happening? Like just an alarm that goes off everywhere.
I love that. The visual you created where everyone in the fourth quarter runs outside. Right. It's happening again, and everyone scurries inside. Yes.
It's Brady time. So James Patterson, you may be familiar with his work. His books have sold more than 300 million copies. He's done one here about Aaron Hernandez, All-American Murder. It's available now.
This is an author that is so good that even I have read one or two of his books.
All right. The highest compliments for James Patterson. Thank you for being on with us, sir.
That really got to me. I'm telling you, man.
I hope so.
I'm reading some information about all the interviews you did for this, and I'm reading here that you broke down during one of the interviews, that you got emotional.
Well, when I was doing it, we did 48 hours, and the show was on Saturday. Odin Lloyd, who was that was the victim where where Hernandez got convicted of the murder. His mother, and I'd heard on a lot of interviews that she was just a great lady, Ursula Ward. And when I did meet her, and I'm not used to doing interviews, on television and stuff, and I know I'm not supposed to, but she's crying and I'm crying. I'm going, I'm not supposed to do this, man. This isn't the way they do it on 60 Minutes.
And what is it that got you? I mean, is it just?
It was just. You just felt it. Her point of view, and not in a bad way, is that this is known as the Aaron Hernandez story. She says it. I don't mean she's not being silly about it, but it should be the Odin Lloyd story. He's the victim. He's the hero. He's the good guy here. He's the nice guy. And I think she was true. Everything we heard about Odin was pretty positive.
How did the reporting work on this, James? You interviewed more than 60 people. How did you feel about the answers you were getting?
Well, it was a mixed bag. I mean, we got nothing from the NFL or the Patriots, which I kind of understand because there are a lot of lawsuits being lodged against them. And the CTE connection, which is, really troubling with them. I would have liked it if the commissioner had sort of sent a little note and said, hey, we can't talk, but he didn't say anything. In terms of the police, lots of stuff. At the prisons and like at North Attleboro, they're very cooperative. Down in Florida, Gainesville, I have a lot of contacts in Florida, so that worked really well. We got enough from the hometown to sort of lay out his high school years, but a lot about at the University of Florida. So we got plenty.
And what's the most revealing fact you learned about Aaron Hernandez?
Well, I think what really just bangs me over the head, and anybody that saw the 48 hours, is how many gifts this guy had. He's unbelievably handsome. I mean, what a fall from grace. The guy's handsome. He's got an amazing smile when he wants to use it. Big dimple. He's got a $40 million contract. He's a spectacular football player. He has, basketball player moves and a big body. He's got this beautiful fiancée, high school sweetheart, baby girl, and boom, it goes up in a puff of smoke.
Did you get at the why? Did you?
Yeah, sure. And this isn't a whodunit. This is a why done it. Yeah. For me, these things are never simple. A lot of people just want to go CTE. For me, I think that there's a pretty clear evidence that he had some psychopathic tendencies anyway. A lot of people with CTE, and I don't know if you've come across any, but I'm not aware of any that went on murder sprees. So there's psychopathic tendencies, I think. They
say maybe O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson might have been, that CTE might have been in play there.
Could be. Yep, and for sure. And I think especially, in the last year or so, when he was really, you look at the murder scene. I mean, first, he kills this guy like a mile from his house, which is stupid, number one. He leaves 4 shells, around the body, stupid, number 2. He leaves his cell phone in the guy's pocket with his number on it. He leaves car keys for a rent-a-car that he rented for the guy. You know, he shoots out a sign on the way out of the, you know, when he's leaving there, puts a couple of bullets. He needs another bullet in the car that he's in. I mean, you know, Jesus. And then the suicide. I think he was, you know, kind of lost to the world by the time he did that. I think he was, you know, in and out of reality.
James, going how far back would you say these symptoms? How far back did the symptoms go? Because what I'm wondering here, would it be possible for someone to maybe, perhaps, see this coming in the future?
Maybe. I mean, look, there was just a study that came out recently from BU. This is in the last few days that they did these 4 high school kids who died, and they found evidence of CTE in all 4 of their brains. So obviously, and these are kids who never had any reported concussions. So I think it can happen as early as high school age or earlier. And it's going to not just be football. It's going to be, you know, rugby and soccer and some of the training they do for the military. We're just going to have to be careful about hitting people in the head, you know. Our heads are not built to be shocked like that.
His new book, All American Murder, is available now. James Patterson, the author, with us on ESPN Radio. What did you learn about the suicide?
Well, for one thing, people always go, how the hell did he kill himself? You know, hanging himself from a 5-foot-high window and tying it to, you know, going across the room to the door. And what I found out up there was that particular style had been used a few times in that prison. So people knew about it. He knew about it, that was a way to do this. He knew it was going to work, or at least he felt it. And he was no dope. I mean, he was a pretty bright guy. You know, he knew it was going to work. He set out to do it. You know, one of my suspicions is that he believed in the chaotic workings of his brain at that point, but he believed that if you believe in Jesus, you would be saved. So I think he thought he was going to somehow be saved, or that it didn't matter one way or the other, and that this was a way, presumably, to get money to his fiancée and the baby.
Did you tackle any of what the English tabloids were reporting in terms of his sexual escapade?
I don't know. I mean, who knows what goes on in prison? But here's the problem with that. The guy was in his locked in his room 22 and a half hours a day. So I mean, what could he do? You know, whenever he was out, he was being watched. You know, I mean, I don't think it was just for his own protection, but I think for the prison's protection. The last thing they want to do is have this guy get killed in prison. But he was in his room. He didn't really get to see anybody. They kept him away from the general population. So I don't think there was much opportunity for him to do anything. So I kind of poo-poo most of that. And we certainly got no evidence of it. Nothing in the jails, nothing from the other inmates. So, I mean, who knows? But there's nothing that we heard.
Do you have beef with Stephen King?
Wait a minute.
No, he has a beef with me. I don't know. You know, it is what it is. Look, everybody gets to, you know, you get to draw your own opinions. Anybody that says I'm a terrible writer is being a little idiotic. But, you know, different smokes for different folks. I mean, you know, he likes some things that I think he's a good writer. The end. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Wow.
James Patterson with us. New book, All American Murder, is available now.
I don't sense any beef there.
I know. I want him to have beef with Stephen King, but he's taking the high road.
No, what do I look like? LeBron James? I'm not, you know.
Come on. You don't have to take the high road there.
No, right.
Why not? Why not? No. Take the high road when you get. That's what I loved about Odin's mother. She took the high road in court when they, you know, they're trying to, what do you think? Should we hang him? She's going like, I can't live that way. I got to take the high road.
We tried to get this started with you before. It's the second time we've tried to get this beef with Stephen King off the ground.
Well, the third time. You know, we'll do it next time.
All right, we'll talk. All right,
but you got to come.
What I really think.
Yeah, but you got to come ready to say it, though, right?
Yeah, you got to be ready next time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Thank you for being on with us, James. We
good.
appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
That concludes our terrible Patriots coverage.
You can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio, and you can watch on ESPNU.